I go with the kids now, so I'm not home during that time anyways. But
Yeah, we'd never get anybody, but it was fun to see these little guys come.
You can see Carol's phone this year.
Pigs also eat gourds if you wanna get rid of gourds. They're not picky. They prefer not.
oh, they do. Mm.
Yeah, they prefer not to eat habaneros and ghost peppers. I think
Oh, yeah.
They say pigs are smart.
they're not dumb. They compost them.
Mhm.
Came back from Greece, and I had a deer fence around my garden. I was really hopeful that I had lots of kale and collard greens and other stuff.
Mhm.
I came back and the deer broke through the deer fence.
Oh.
They mowed everything, mowed it right down,
My cows got out and got in my own garden and did the same thing,
mowed it right down.
but they don't eat eggplants, but I.
Yeah, yeah, they left me, they ate all the leaves, they left me 4 eggplant. And they don't eat jalapenos either.
Did you
Dear.
hear from Carol? Carol Wyman?
No, that I didn't hear. I don't think, oh, maybe I did hear that she wasn't gonna be there. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay. Well, I call the meeting to order.
Okay.
The Enfield Conservation Commission for November 2nd, 2023. First order of business, to approve the minutes of the October 5th meeting. Have you all read those minutes?
Yes.
Does anyone have any corrections or additions?
I didn't see any.
It wasn't here, so I can't.
I know you were in Greece.
I did read them.
Yeah, no, they look fine.
You got anything to say, Shirley?
No?
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of meeting as read.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I abstain.
Yeah, I guess I abstained too, so I wasn't here.
Two abstention.
They say you still can,
Yeah,
you can still vote.
you can, if you need
But
it
it
for
doesn't-
your total, but I'm more comfortable with.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But you're right, you're correct.
So the meeting, the only person we have not here is Carol Wyman, and she is excused. Okay, some old business in regards to things we've talked about before. There's a shoreland impact permit with noted conditions. It's been found to meet exceed the requirements of RSA 483-B. And they've got following projects, conditions and declarations that follow. Has anybody, we never received any diagrams or blueprints of what's going to be done, but those have been looked at by the Department of Environmental Services. So if they feel as though it meets or exceeds the requirements, then I guess that's it. Anybody else got any suggestions that we should send to them about what is described here? Specifications. You want to add any more?
Well, it sounds like DES is.
Yeah.
Taking care of anything that you.
That's what I figured. It's, in case anybody wants to look at the map, it's, lot, 2 on map, 24.
Yep.
Everybody see where that is?
Yep.
Okay.
So you got the paper that.
Oh, that was that long
stipulation.
skinny.
Yeah,
What's that long
Yeah,
skinny?
you got him too.
Yeah, they're all kind of large,
Yeah.
right along the lake, but this is the low end, the back end of the lake.
Set out.
yeah, I went and got mine. I
Okay.
finally remembered, yep.
I couldn't do that.
The next, thing is a request for more information from standard dredge and fill permit. This is on map 27 lot 2. If anybody wants to see where it's located.
Carol is joining us on Teams.
Okay.
Map 27 lot 2. Apparently that 27 has been subdivided because my map just shows lot 27. It doesn't say 1 or 2 or anything else.
This one right here, Jerry,
The
right there, that's it.
number two, the
So
second.
that's a,
Right on the, right on the.
that's a good sized lot.
Yeah, that is.
Isn't it for Docker? Yeah.
Yeah, it's right on the water. It's a pretty good sized lot.
Yes. How many feet?
Oh, not.
So they have requested more information. Again, we never got a delineation of what they're planning to do there. All we got was this permit
I think if
application.
you switch it out.
So I have no idea what
Oh.
their plans are.
Yeah, I mean,
This is
Is
the
this
one
the
that
dog?
I asked about at the town office.
Yes.
And I looked at the paperwork and it's kind of hard to find it, but all I could see in there that they want
Dock.
to put in a dock. Yeah.
So they don't have a dock currently?
Yeah, they do. That's why they had to submit this dredge and fill permit, because they're putting in a second dock, and the requirements are, if you put in a second dock, you have to submit a dredge and fill permit.
Oh,
But where they're gonna dredge, how much the fill they're gonna put in, what kind of fill it is and so on, they don't know. Maybe that's why they've asked for more information.
Well, lots of times that's on the shoreline, not in the waterbed.
Well, that may be what they want, but there was no diagrams that I saw. Did you see anything, Ed, about where the dock was gonna be?
No, I did not.
All right, well, that's,
That's not.
can I ask a question about a previous one that we discussed? It's on the
Go right ahead.
Bog Road, the equestrian center. Is that still going in?
No.
No?
No, she had to change direction.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
has she lost the property?
I don't know about that, but she's had a change of, occupation, I believe.
Yeah, the last update at planning board was that it was likely that her property would be for sale, but she was no longer pursuing the equestrian.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious.
yeah, nothing's been going on there.
No.
No, and she was our, crossing guard. That was,
It was her, she was so good.
that's too bad.
You have any more questions about that, Lee?
No, I was just curious because of, it's around the Rutland area, so.
All right, I guess that really covers that. The new business, Mr. Downing is not here. This particular, permit, we have not received anything, but we're not required to. This is a permit by notification. It goes directly to the DES. We don't have any input in it, and it is the repair of a drain on, a culvert on private property, as far as I have been told. Mr. Downing was scheduled to come here and describe what's going on, but he hasn't showed up. So basically, we don't have any input to it anyway, according to the regulation.
Can I talk to it even though it's?
You can talk to it and tell us all about it if you wish.
Okay, sure. Essentially, what this is to replace the culvert that failed that washed out our house, our property. The culvert that we had in there was a plastic 24-inch culvert that got clogged, and over the July 9th storm was a horrendous storm. And there's a lot of water, a lot of force coming down. And it took the path of least resistance, which was our property, and it wiped out our septic, our leach field. And turns out that we ended up replacing the whole septic system since it was 21 years old anyway. But there's been a lot of work done since then. We've put a lot of money into it. Insurance, we're not going to get into the gory details, but insurance has been less than cooperative for getting money back to help us. So a lot of this is falling on us as far as taking out a loan and diving into our savings. We don't want this to happen again. We can't live through this again. We're out of hours for 2.5 months. And we essentially lost the septic system. We lost 30 to 40% of our gardens. And there was a lot of damage, some structural damage done to our porches. So we've been working with, we had flood insurance and homeowners insurance. homeowners covered zero, not a
How
penny.
can that be?
They don't cover floods.
Oh,
It says right on the,
That's why you gotta have flood.
yeah.
okay.
Even though I'm not in a flood zone,
Mhm.
we decided we'd get flood insurance like 12 years ago, and I'm glad we had it because we are getting some money from them, but you know, the total cost that we're seeing, the Allstate is covering about a third of it. So there's a lot of money that, you know, we had to ante up to cover. So getting back to the culvert, we want to replace the one that's in there that was too small. And we thought we had a plan to use a large bottomless culvert. And we're in the process of working on the PBN for that. And then we also have employed let me back up. This is not my culvert or Jane's culvert. This is owned by the Holly Drive Road Association because we're a private road. And we essentially have dues, and what we do is maintain the road by plowing and replacing things, you know, digging ditches and replacing culverts as they fail or as they get old. And we had just done that like 3 years ago to this culvert, replaced it and put in a new plastic one. But the guy who put it in didn't do his homework, as far as I'm concerned, and didn't put in one that was large enough. Therefore, it clogged more easily than it should have and ended up with all that destruction. So what we're trying to do is go from this 24-inch to a larger, more permanent kind of structure that's going to withstand up to a 50 or 100-year storm.
And how big is it?
It's going to be, they're looking at a concrete box situation, concrete box product that's going to be 4 foot by 2 foot.
Hmm.
And
What's the diameter? You know?
It's the open bottom one, like.
it's not the open bottom.
Okay.
Pathways, who we're working with, the civil engineers, recommended against an open bottom one.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, because it could get undermined
Mhm.
without any support on the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing we have hired them to help us because we could have gone down the wrong road without their assistance.
Well, it'd been
Well, let
That
me
was
read.
my question.
Yeah.
I knew you'd hired Pathways engineer.
Mhm.
Is this their recommendation?
This is their recommendation.
Okay, so you have a written report already?
No, and that's been an issue. This process is taking long. You know, I thought we were out of our house for 2.5 months was bad enough.
Mhm.
But we signed on with them fairly early in August. And I was kind of hoping we'd have some written report by now, and we didn't. So we had a meeting today and kind of hashed some of these communication problems out. And
Where is your property located?
we're on Holly Drive, 54 Holly Drive, which is right on Crystal Lake.
Okay.
Are you looking for the lot
Now,
number?
where will this water be directed that goes through this?
It's already directed into the lake.
It's into the lake?
Oh, it's into the lake. Yeah.
No, I mean, you mean to tell me this culvert directs the water into the lake?
And yeah,
These are all streams, so,
there's all street.
I'm very familiar. with
yeah,
this.
so when they built
Usually it's
this,
diverted, so.
It's right,
There's no place to divert it.
it's right down the water.
they're basically every other house almost has a stream.
Yeah, there's a
That's the
dozen. of
whole
them on
hillside
the
of
road.
streams, yeah.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Look,
You remember,
Mm.
yeah.
it's all around the lake, anywhere where there's a runoff. That's what a watershed does.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yes,
yeah.
but,
So essentially, you know, it's one way or another, this stuff's gonna get into the lake. This water is gonna get into the lake. It can either go through a culvert or it can wipe out somebody's property. That's why we need functioning culverts.
Yes. now is there anything to filter it, this water? Is there any,
Yeah,
what are they called?
Silt blocks.
Mm-mm.
I
There's,
can't think what they called,
I mean,
but
we
it
have them on the
drops
side of our
into-
stream.
that acts like
Yeah,
it
you,
absorbs
you
it.
can put in like a catchment system, and then when it comes up higher in the catchment system,
Mm.
the silt, that's what's at the beginning of the road.
Mm.
Yeah,
Is that kind of function.
Yeah.
So you guys have that whole lot 24 section? Have you thought about installing something like that? So to
We
save
could
all
have-
of you guys? Cause you have 21 acres, right?
Yeah, we do. And
To catch that.
that
make
would
it
be good,
safer.
but it's hard to get to.
Yeah,
I mean, to
It's New Hampshire.
maintain it and get to it, would be a real bear.
Yeah.
To answer, go back to your question. When, you remember 8 years ago, we came to the Conservation Commission and had a problem with our stream because of the run through there and all the silt and the sand. And we ended up doing something about it. And we ended up having a lot of work done and doing all the right stuff. You know, we put in core logs to line the stream. We put in larger rocks to break it down. We did some of this pooling within the stream between the road and the lake. You know, we had like 3 areas where we had large rocks and then a drop. And it could pool there and you could dig the sand out. And then we had another one. There's 3 of them all in total.
The best thing,
Going-
rather than rocks, though, is leaving the bushes. The bushes are what absorb it.
Oh, yeah, and we planted bushes along the side. And this was all the work that John Downing did, 8 years ago. And that held up, even though everything flooded out and it blew out our, leach field. That stream, the sides of it held up amazingly well. But, you know, all the stuff, everybody had all sorts of stuff coming down through these streams that led into the lake and all this deposit of sand and silt. It's horrible, just horrible stuff that's going on there.
Well,
So,
that's why lakes silt up eventually. That's the history of lakes.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's nothing really you can do about it unless you want to be able to dredge it, and nobody's going to get a dredge into Crystal Lake.
No.
yeah, which is too bad, you know.
Right.
Huh?
Dredging the bottom of the lake is one of the worst things you can do,
Right, but I'm not talking about dredging the bottom. I'm talking, we've got.
but that's dredging. And that.
Well, this is all new. This is all since July 9th.
Actually, before the dam was ever put in, that was all land
Yeah.
there. It wasn't lake bottom. You've got that water there where it's all shallow, you know, down in that area.
Mhm.
That was not lake. That was land.
Of our house.
And it's so, but, no, dredging the bottom of any lake bottom is not good.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about 2 different things. Maybe I'm naive, maybe I don't understand the terminology, but
You can get a permit through DES to do a certain amount of reclamation work.
yeah, I mean, we've had deposited, it's gotta be 18 inches of sand. You can see it. You can see where the stream flows beside it and rips into the side of it, and it's that deep. And that's all new stuff. That's not, you know,
The culvert is probably the best thing you can do. Now, let me just read you this directions here. This is a culvert repair replacement statutory permit by notification put out by the DES. There's no signature required by the city clerk. It applies to minimum impact projects involving the repair or replacement of culverts or streams crossing structures up to and including 48 inches in diameter, or the functional hydraulic equivalent. So if you don't put any culvert in larger than 48 inches in diameter, you will have complied with the DES regulations if that's what you put in your permit.
yeah,
Application.
and that's what Pathways is working on. 48 inches wide,
24.
24.
So it will be
Deep.
within what they allow.
It'll be within what they allow, and then the flow through it is so much, it's got so much more capability. It will meet the 50 and the 100-year flood requirements.
You
But
hope.
where is it located?
Yeah,
Where is this culvert located? Actually, is it close to your house or?
yeah, the stream, the culprit stream that I don't like anymore,
I've seen it. You showed it.
you know it, it bisects our property. We've got a wooded lot to the left of it, and then our house is to the right of it.
Mhm.
And so here's the culvert right here. Here's our house over here. Here's the wooded lot. The culvert plugged, the water came up, came over the street and went down, not the wooded lot, which would have been okay. We wouldn't have cared about that, but it came down and flushed out a lot of our property.
Mm.
So eventually, well, I understand that if we fill out this permit, we can expedite it if we get a signature up front. It might knock 20 days off of the waiting time.
I think,
I'm trying to think what they call, is it a drop basin or there's some type of a basin you can put in
Um,
that the water will go into first and be filtered before it goes into the lake? Which there,
Are
a
you
lot.
going back to up above our property and putting in
no, I'm
something like
going
that?
in relationship to a culvert or anything. But anywhere where there's a big flow of water, there's a way to slow it down so that it doesn't just rush in.
Retention ponds and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, retention,
Yeah.
that's what it's, yeah. It's a retention basin.
Yeah,
I
basically.
couldn't think of the.
Pond basin, yeah.
call it, Yeah. And,
It
those
retain-
are put in a
It
lot of
collects
places.
high water and then it filters it through and flows through the
Right.
natural flow of the,
Mhm. Causes
watershed,
a.
yeah.
It does, the water's absorbed a lot more, plus it doesn't, it slows it down.
yeah, that's what we have at the end of our road.
Mhm.
I used to tease Henry Cross and call it Henry's Pond. Because it would come down, comes down in there, and, you know, the town dredges that. You're
Mhm.
supposed to dredge it every year,
Right,
and they do, and that works fine there. If we had something that would be close enough to the road like that,
Mhm.
that would be cool. That'd be really good.
well, I feel it's unfortunate that Pathways hasn't provided you with a, written recommendation.
Well, we had some back and forth about that, and they had, a couple of the key people came down with COVID. One was out for 2 weeks, one was out for another week. But we met with them today and made a lot of headway, and I have a drawing of what they want to do already, and I have some specs on it. But we have not completed the application yet, because what they're recommending, this 4 foot by 2 foot concrete culvert, it's like $30,000. And nobody's gonna help us pay for that. That's gonna come back to the homeowners. And there's only 18 of us on the road, so, you know,
So 30,000 divided by 18 is what each one of you will have to pitch in?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's hard enough to get, it was hard enough to get us everybody to agree to spend $5,000 on the civil engineer to come up with the right product. We did. But then to go back and ask for another $30,000, I mean, a lot of people are retired and,
The Pathways recommendation last time on the culverts, I know the contractor put them in undersize and said you didn't need them. Are they gonna go through and fix the other ones, or are they gonna continue with the undersized?
the other ones are fine. When you look at the flow in all those other culverts, they are, we've got the killer one that bisects our property. Of all those 12 streams that come down and go into Crystal Lake, which the one we have is the biggest.
My understanding though, Pathways, not recently, but on the original design had made recommendations for
Yeah.
larger diameter culverts and they got downsized.
How'd they get down some?
No,
Really?
no.
Okay, because it was quoted out, so
Really?
Yep.
On our property?
you're on the Holly Drive Association, I believe you had, the culverts they used were undersized per recommendation.
Just the one on ours.
Okay, yeah. and
That's the
maybe
only one I'm aware of.
Yeah, I would double check though, because you guys may run into.
Now, who
But I mean, doing it
recommended
with
you
somebody
do the
else.
smaller ones?
The guy that installed it,
Who's not an engineer.
yeah, he's not an engineer. He just puts in culverts
It's too bad.
and, yeah,
Very expensive.
I personally would make sure that our association, if employees have again.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you went with with an engineer to
Yeah,
find out what really is needed, because
right. Yeah, and
it
John
not
Down.
only affects yours, but it affects the whole lake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And John Downing has done work for us and he does it right. He knows, and he talks to the right people and he, gets done what needs to get done. So He's gonna be the man that's gonna put in the culvert when we decide what we're gonna get, what we can afford.
Can I just ask
We
for
might,
clarification? It's been a long day in my world. This is not on the agenda, right? This is like an additional, I just want to make sure that I have it
That's right.
categorized correctly.
We never
Okay.
got it. We
So-
never got any copies of any permit applications at all.
Okay.
So,
So Ed, you said when we decide what we can afford, do you mean to tell me that the association may decide to downsize that?
No.
Okay.
No, we're gonna replace it. We're gonna replace it. And we wanna do it right.
Mm.
We don't wanna do an open bottom thing that's gonna fail us also. So we're gonna do it right, but it might take a little more time than we thought. I had asked Jerry to put this on the agenda, thinking that we were gonna have paperwork done to present before you. And then it all backed up when our plan to use the open bottom thing was nullified, or pretty much Hathaway said, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. To
So,
me, the 30,000 divided by 18
mhm,
is a small investment.
to me too.
Yeah, because you say this is supposed to last, this should last the lifetime of the people who are there, I would assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it should, you know,
I mean,
withstand.
tell them to think about what they spend on other things.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, in any group, to get
It's hard.
people to pitch in and help out with the money, there's people that will automatically, and then there's people that'll dig their feet in and say, I'm not paying that much money. We've never paid more than $400 or $500 a year for dues, so I'm not gonna give you $1,000 this year, or 2,000 or whatever, so.
Their members, they should.
So Jerry was nice enough to let me talk about this. That's why we.
I just wanted to make
It
sure I
was gonna
wasn't
be,
missing it.
yeah, it was gonna be on new business,
Got
but
it.
then we pulled it off. And John Downing would have been here. He was willing to come if paperwork had been processed. And he would have handed it to you.
anybody else got any questions?
No, sir.
Yeah. How many other people are directly affected by the use or not use of a new culvert?
Good question.
So we're also concerned down at the other end of the road, Henry Cross, well, the Cross's property. How many people are affected? I mean, if this culvert blows out, it's everybody that lives beyond us. And we're the seventh house down we're about half midway, so people will be behind us if the culvert blows out and they can't.
But it's also the effect on the lake. It
And that's the other thing.
Everybody,
It affects everybody that
everybody.
lives on the lake.
It's not just your property.
It's not just our property, it's not the people that live behind us that wouldn't have access to getting by, but it's every single person that's on the lake. For all of this debris and stuff to come through and, you know. It's more, step one is the culvert to give us peace of mind. Step two is some kind of retention pond or something up in the field to help slow this down. Or how about this? How about diverting the water to have a different, so many things.
Well, see, that's what they've done on Nichols Drive. That's why I was asking you why the water goes to.
Yeah,
They're, you know, it's all steep there. And they have, but they have diverted their water so that it goes on a slant upwards
mhm,
rather than into the lake.
yeah,
They're very conscious of that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think you're gonna see more and more of exactly what he's talking about because of landfill in areas that used to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Wetlands. You know, people are filling in wetlands and water's gotta have a place to go. And I feel for what you're going through right now because unless you get a culvert, you're not gonna have a solution. So, and then, you know, if we have another monumental rainstorm like we did last July, you know, you're just gonna keep going through this over and over again. So, you know, it just goes back even farther. I think if you look at the way the streams are diverted now, they're in a way that is avoiding all the natural ways to divert water, which is with wetlands and auxiliary retention ponds, natural retention ponds, natural wetlands, natural materials, because we're building everywhere and taking those things out. I mean, that's just my opinion. Based on things I've read and experiences I've had in my own property. So, yeah, I mean, there's got to be some way to help this guy get a solution to his problem.
You know, after the flood, two neighbors and I walked the stream that dissects our property, and we had done that like 8 years ago. We had walked the stream to see where it originates. And we did that, and we could see where it goes up to Boys Camp Road, where there's a 36-inch culvert coming from Boys Camp Road, feeding down to this. I mean, that's okay.
There you go.
That's
Right.
Yeah.
You see,
So people will feed the water and then not pay attention to what happens at the end of where that water is going.
Well, the other thing is, there are culverts on the left side of Lock Haven Road. And instead of letting water go down the left side of Lock Haven
I
Road,
know.
huh?
When
They changed the
that,
flow of water.
when
They-
they changed that made a huge difference.
Yeah, and it all comes into Crystal Lake.
Yeah, I was under the impression you never should change the flow of water regardless. I mean,
Yeah.
follow the
Exactly.
natural flow.
Yeah.
And I
What's
mean, the landing site is unfortunately where your wetlands would have been is where all those houses on the shoreline are, right? That's a big issue.
Bingo. Yeah.
We as humans wanted that prime spot, so we took what would be wetlands and would have absorbed this and we put houses on it. I mean, you look at the picture, so there's 21 acres, right? Which is part of the Holly Drive Association, and then there's all of these houses, and you have the water trying to come down. The topography is such that, let me just switch your base map here. If I switch you to the topo map, you can see the topography, right? Kind of brings you down. And so this water, if it goes this way, which it does not all, but you saw that field, the fields too. All of these fields and stuff are headed directly towards your house. But you do have 21 acres to quote unquote play with. It's not easy to get into, but I ran a soak up the rain water calculator for a rain garden, and you would need like a 2 acre, right? Cause a rain garden essentially would give you that bowl.
Yeah.
But you guys do have some space, and it might be a possibility to put some kind of combination in uphill to slow it down.
That
And
would
I
be
know the
good.
town has been talking, and you've probably seen, they make these cutouts that aren't to the culvert where the water goes into.
That's
these little
exactly what
Yeah.
they've done on Nichols Drive.
Yeah.
And they
And-
showed them to us, and it would be a good thing to go and look at them.
Yeah.
Because that would really help.
So,
And
But
another thing,
we,
another
ahead.
thing excuse me, Ed, is that, you know, I know that property across the road was all purchased years ago by the association to protect your property.
yeah.
And I've
Prevent
heard that
development.
some people now want to do something with their other side of the road.
But we're not letting them.
Good,
We're not
because that would be a huge
It
mistake.
would
I
be
mean, that
worse.
property is there, it's a buffer to protect you.
Yeah, and it would change the status of that property.
That's right.
And it would be, we'd get much more taxes.
What property was this?
That's
This one right
across the
here.
road.
So
The
that's
what you mean.
association brought,
Across Lock Haven,
many years ago.
across where the, where?
No,
the-
no,
This
across
one right
the
here.
road on Holly Drive.
Pond is.
Yellow.
Okay,
As you go across the road from Holly Drive across from all the residents.
So you can see it.
You-
They bought that land specifically to protect them.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah, but it won't if people develop it.
Yeah, but 11 of us own that.
Yeah.
And all 11 would have to agree to sell it for that to be developed, and none of us are gonna allow that to happen.
Good.
So we're gonna say.
You better put it in your deed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it is. I have a question, Kate. You said So they've developed and put houses in near Mud Pond?
There's talk of it,
There,
right?
there's a lot
Oh.
of business, it's very busy there.
Yeah.
So they
because-
have, they did a site, gosh, that was a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
though, wasn't it? Was it? It's been
Yeah.
a while.
Is it Kovacs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
he did a
split-
minor subdivision
Yeah.
and he's able to, but there's a certain portion of his property that's not accessible. So, but there, it's a very large, was it 100? I don't know what's left once they subdivided, but you could look at it. I don't think,
Give or take 100.
And Reagan's bought a big lot to protect it.
they bought just 15 with the house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I'm
So that
talking
that
about,
wouldn't, because the developer would have developed that area. too.
what I'm talking about going down the left side of Lock Haven Road, if they would just channel that, all that water, instead of sending it under the road and putting it back on the other side and coming down into the stream that bisects our property.
It's hard, right? Because when you're talking about the natural flow of water, the natural flow of water would be to cross the road. However, you could be sending some, not all of it.
Yeah.
But
Well, the
you
natural
can't,
flow of water would be not to cross the road at all. It'd just
No,
be let it rip.
we're the ones who put the road in. That's the problem, right? So
Yeah.
that we're constantly trying to make it turn a corner and water only takes a certain number of degree turn and I don't know what it is. That's why we have engineers. I just had someone look at the culvert at my house, which is on the
Yeah.
wrong angle.
Yeah.
So the habit is to put culverts in that go like this, right? Cause it's shorter, but you actually need to be going like, because you're really supposed to not be trying to reach. Because we all know, like you made sandcastles at the beach, right? The way it comes in, you have a barrier.
Mhm.
But why shouldn't the water, I'm not gonna let go of this one. I'm gonna be like.
Why
a
shouldn't the water
dog with
go
a
where?
bone. That water coming down the left side of Lock Haven Road, why shouldn't that be diverted into Mud Pond? Rather than having it cross the road and go into Crystal Lake?
I mean, I guess my question would be,
Cheaper.
as humans, should we be changing the hydrology of the land?
No.
We did, somebody did, make
No.
that stuff come down.
Well, yes and no. We put a road in and we did. So it's kind of like, do you restore it back to its natural flow, which would be to come towards Holly Drive? Or do you do something that's part and parcel? I think I would rather have an engineer answer that, but also, you know, we put houses where wetlands belong all the time. So it's very, very hard to say who's right.
That's very.
Carolyn,
Okay
did
for
you
that.
have a comment?
Sorry.
Carolyn, did you comment?
My comment was just simply that they are doing a lot of these things because it's cheaper. I mean, just having it run down a hill is a lot easier than having it, you know, diverted to a retention pond and, you know, I mean, I would bet money on the fact that that's, you know, what most things are based on. You know, it's just a cheaper and not looking at the, because if you looked at the long range results of running all this water down a hill where people live, you can't possibly think that's right.
Yeah,
I
Well,
mean,
maybe this is something the planning board should take into consideration when they start approving these, building permits.
I think, I've talked to
I agree with you.
our town
Me
manager.
too.
A bit about, so there are rules that would allow us to put in like a stormwater utility. And we might be able to incentivize doing having people do the work, some of the work on their own to keep it on their own property. So that's something I'm very interested in because anytime you can encourage each lot to keep their own and incentivize it in a way that won't cripple other people, right? Because it's always who's gonna pay for it, right? When it all ends at your house. So I've had everything uphill land in my house, so I have much sympathy. And I think there's always I don't want it on my side of the road. I don't want it on my property. The town did this project with the state and with DES, and that's where that retention pond came from in the first instance. But I think there's a lot of work if we can encourage people uphill to all do a little piece. You're still gonna have that 20 acres of water, right? So the calculation is when you do a rain garden calculation, you can go around the calculator for soak up any, the rain NH. And you're trying to keep your water from your 21 acres uphill from going to your house. So that's where I got that. You need about 2 acres of retention, and I just estimated the percent grade. It's kind of, I think you still, as an association, still have a responsibility for that 21 acres. And you would already be in trouble, right, with that uphill, because so if you could keep the other people on theirs, you just kind of slowly, progressively slow, because it's also slowing it down, so it has a chance to absorb,
Right,
right?
that's a key thing.
Yeah, so it definitely is. I would like to see as a town us work towards teaching people about how we can. And that's why I've been working with Patty for about how we can each do a little bit to help our neighbors, because getting it to slow down, drop the silt and absorb is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Do you have a diagram, Kate, of the rain garden size that would be necessary for that 21 acres?
I went on Soak Up the Rain NH, and you just put in your lot size, and you put in, so I just keyed it in, and it tossed me out a number that was about 2 acres.
Could you give Ed the URL for that so he can look that up and maybe suggest to John Downing to think about that?
Yeah, it's, the URL is an Ugly State one, but it's, if you just put in Soak Up the Rain NH, it'll take you right to it.
Okay.
I just double checked, it's not a pretty. Or you can go in this month's town report and use the link Elisa put in, or the QR code. Because you submitted and she put it in for you. Good job.
Thank you.
So it is in the top. The newsletter, I'm sorry. Goodness. It's a very nice newsletter, contributions from all of you guys, by the way.
And you can get the same information from New Hampshire Lakes Association and their Lake Smart program.
Yeah.
That's been going for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're all related.
Yeah, they're all, actually Soak Up the Rain came along a lot
From
later
DES.
than,
Yeah.
and probably, these people, a lot of them have worked for both organizations. And, so they work well together.
Is New Hampshire Lakes DES or no?
Pardon me?
Is New Hampshire Lakes part of DES?
No,
Okay, yeah, this is DES.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
but our president of New Hampshire Lakes, actually worked for DES before she came to New Hampshire Lakes. And, one of the DES people that was there for a long time, worked on this, is now at UNH.
Oh,
So they move around back and forth, but they all work together.
that's it.
I worked on this for 19 years.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, does anyone have any more comments about this proposed culvert replacement?
No, sir.
Okay, I want to call your attention to something that you all have as a result of Mr. Taylor copying it. It's the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Wetland Rules Update. And I would suggest to all of you that you read this over, keep it with you and become familiar with it, because there will be issues that will pertain to these changed rules that you need to be aware of when it comes to evaluating wetland permits. That's all I would say about that. Budget appropriations. I got the one for December 31st, 2023. Conservation Commission is supposedly going to receive $2,675. As according to what they've said. Now, this may be just the total budget for 2023, and as a result of that, we have 27.5% of it left behind at the present time. So we have.
Is that what we requested?
No, we put in a request for more, and they haven't told us whether we're going to get that or not, that I know of.
You're talking current year.
We
budget
won't
figure.
do that. We won't make that decision until we've heard from every group.
But you've got to put some money in the account, don't you, in order for us to carry on until the budget
Oh,
is
yeah.
finally approved? Okay, so I don't know what they're gonna put in. And I don't know whether we're gonna get all the budget that was asked for.
So the New Hampshire is weird with towns, and the majority of towns are on this kind of odd schedule where you spend your budget before you have it from town meeting, which defies all logic in any business. But so you generally try at the beginning of the year to spend your budget like you would have spent last year's and save your projects if you're changing for later in the year, just as a matter of due diligence. But you're gonna get some kind of budget, right? But until the voters approve it, because we are a town that does town meeting, you kind of are functioning on the No Budget, No Promises Act. It's, and it doesn't carry, it's very odd. It's not my favorite, but that's kind of the truth of how it runs. So you guys have 27%. Have you paid out for the lumber and everything already out of that?
That came from the conservation fund, as I recall.
So the way it should be paying out and then you should be doing transfers in. I think they were gonna correct how that was being done, because you don't wanna pay from your fund, you wanna pay from your like more general and then transfer funds in.
Mr. Sanborn, did you get reimbursed for all the funds that you spent for the lumber and?
I did.
Okay, so
Okay.
how it happened
good.
is not so important as the fact that it
Yeah.
didn't happen.
The important thing to me is that I get reimbursed for what I spend to implement the town's decisions.
Yes. Yeah, as long as you're taking care of, that's my primary complaint.
And if you have money left over, or going to, and you know that you have an expense that's gonna come up in the beginning of the year or next year, you can have that money set aside to.
You can encumber it if you have an
Encumber, yeah.
invoice or
Huh.
it has to be documented though. Like you can't be like, oh, I wanna save it. So
Right.
say you had like an invoice from the Valleys for like a delivery or you had pre-contracted with somebody. Or if you had a project you knew you were gonna do and you're like, it needs this lumber, you could just buy it now as long as it's storage.
Right.
And I'm not encouraging people to spend their budget just for spending's sake, but sometimes you know, like you're gonna start in January, right? It just makes sense to
Right.
clean it up.
The budget that we prepared for 2024, I think you guys, I wasn't an active member at the time. You guys did a good thing by adding trails maintenance to that budget and putting $1,000 in for that.
Mhm.
And that money will get spent because we got a good person working on it. and-
Oh, please.
Did you see his his article in
That's
the, in the?
what I'm saying.
town
You make the paper, you're famous.
Yeah.
It was a great news.
I don't care about payments, I just wanted to be comfortable and a little notorious.
You were on the front
You were
page of the
definitely
Valley
notorious.
News.
I saw that.
That James Patterson from the Valley News is very sneaky. He's still in a gravel bar upstream with his camera, and he didn't move or do nothing, and all ignored him. And the next thing, there I am on the front. page.
You had no idea till you saw it on the front page.
Correct.
I think that's so
Notice
funny.
there.
Oh, that's funny.
It's good.
He
Stuff
probably
like that
thought you
is
wouldn't
good.
let him take the picture.
That was good. That stuff's
That's what he's
good.
there for, to take pictures, so just didn't know he was gonna do that.
You look good.
And you're writing for the newsletter, which very nice.
Excellent.
Well, Elisa edited it somewhat, but, all the
Mine
facts.
too.
I misspelled her name, so she fixed that too.
Aw.
Elisa's a busy person.
Yeah, she has us to deal with, yeah.
Okay, I call your attention to the notice by Bill Shabbat, who's the chair of the Canaan Conservation Commission for the November 14th at 6:30 PM. Talk by Andrew French, who's a wildlife refuge manager of the Stillwell County National Fish and Wildlife Refuge in Hadley, Massachusetts.
Hadley.
Hadley, all right. Hadley. So if you want to go to that, you've got the time on it for,
And that's over at the
Health center.
health center.
yeah, it's up the road toward the high school, I think.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. What's the date on that? I'm looking.
November 14th.
November 14th. Okay.
I get it on the calendar.
Yeah,
Yep.
I will be there.
Do we need to, mention that to someone and do we need to register or anything for that? Or can we just go?
Just go.
Okay,
And if you're gonna have a quorum of this board, you need to post it.
post it. Okay.
Mm.
So then we need to decide who's, what time is it? 7?
Yeah, I'm going.
I'm going.
I'm going.
You got a quorum.
So how did we post that?
Yeah, just tell,
Just ask Elisa.
yeah, you have your chair, so Dr. Tice can just
Oh,
send a
okay.
note to Elisa.
Carol, you said you're going to?
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can't, maybe. You guys can tell me it sounds great.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes,
If the gathering is one where the council commission here is not going to go into session, not going to deliberate or make any decisions or anything like that, why does it matter whether you have a quorum or not? So each individual person attending as an individual, their own information, and it's not anything official. Why does a quorum matter?
It's typically, New Hampshire right to know law and public meeting law is pretty clear, because if you start discussing, like, you're like, hey, that's a pretty neat idea, then you've got a meeting, right? It doesn't take much. So you really want to it's not hard to post it. It's going to be up and then it covers you. And if for some reason you did conduct a meeting, then you would put minutes in.
so if we all went to a concert, we would have to,
I wouldn't sit together, but you guys are going to be sitting in close proximity in a meeting room.
I'll
Yeah.
sit away from this group.
I was gonna
We
say,
got- we're
what if we
gonna
all
have
went to a
more.
Red Sox game?
But we had to do that when we had that thing at the Shaker Museum.
Yeah.
It just said, time started.
Yeah.
We had an educational meeting, time ended. That's all you did, no
Yeah.
minutes.
And like if the select board for some reason goes to something together that's not one of our meetings, we just post it, right? It's, we're trying to serve the
You
public.
mean even a social thing you do?
We don't typically, what I did in the past, when we only had 3, was I didn't go to social things with people. But now that we have 5, we typically are not in the same place. So like you might see me with Alice, that's not a quorum, but
Right.
if there's,
Yeah.
we just
Two is a
don't.
quorum.
Yeah, we just don't, right? Cause you just,
I didn't know.
you want people to trust you and
Yeah.
feel like you're not making decisions out of the public eye.
Mm.
And it's pretty easy
Say,
to do.
oh, there's those two. I wonder
Yeah.
what they're talking about.
Alice and Kate are painting the barn. They're handing out candy. She's in a T-Rex costume. That was this week. This is where the candy came from.
Okay, one more thing, or 2 more things. Notice of intent to cut wood on map 17, lot 2, White House Road. They're going to cut, hardwood in the form of, aspen or, maples, I guess, they didn't say, beech and pallet logs and white pine. Just to notice, we don't have anything really to say about that kind of activity.
Where is that?
White House Road,
White House Road.
off of,
On lot 2, you have a note on that about
off
hydraulic.
Hill Road and,
Lot 2, yeah.
Not
Yeah.
good. Oh,
He's got a
Show
note.
Road, Show Road, thank you. Right there.
yeah, that's a beautiful, he wants to sell that. That's where the White House is.
Yeah,
He
Who
wants,
owns it?
I was riding by one day and he came out and said, you wanna buy this place? I wanna sell
Who
it.
owns it?
Some guy from Massachusetts, I believe.
Hmm.
He has somebody caretake it. Beautiful, but it's no trespass. You couldn't
Are
get.
they cutting around the house or are they cutting the woodlot that they haven't?
Mostly fields around, there's a lot of fields there. I don't know where they're. If that's that place I'm thinking of,
Well, because there's a,
It says prime farmland and
it is.
there's a note on it.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's lot number 2. Lot
Right.
number 1 is the triangular.
Oh, I thought you said it was lot number 2.
Map number?
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
It's, well,
Is
it
it-
does say lot number 2 on
Yeah.
the application,
Hmm.
but on this
Cause New
stickum
England, the
that I have,
forestry,
it says lot number 1.
Hmm.
It
Well, that's
could
big
be, it
trees.
could be part, maybe he owns that too.
well, so
It's possible, but we'll just go with what the.
New England Forestry owns lot 2.
Yeah, it's a tree farm up in there.
Yeah, they apply for tax exemption every year.
Beautiful.
This is,
It's pretty normal, they do forestry up there.
yeah, it just doesn't say that it's the New Hampshire Association of, Forest Preservation. That's all right.
Is it full?
Anyhow. Here, the last thing I want to call your attention is to something that I sent you because I just got it this afternoon. And this is an account of the activity that Mr. Sanborn and his crew did. So,
You sent it this afternoon?
I sent it
It was
this
in the email. It was an email.
because I just got it this afternoon from him.
Oh, I didn't see it.
So, one of the things that we had talked about in the past was to make a donation to the Alliance, the Highland, what's the name of the group? Highlands?
May I address that, sir?
Yeah, go right ahead. Come up to the table and talk.
The
to us.
short version. And it will be short. Okay.
Oh, yes. He's had a busy.
Yeah, I saw it.
You can send it back over my way, sorry.
Craig, kudos on your report. It was extremely thorough. Even I understood it all.
It was wonderful.
Okay, what?
Having the diction, I put them
I
in the
guess she's
freezer.
not gonna say
Got one in my coffee.
So,
She said she
Yeah,
understood.
might be in a
She
big.
wrote me a little note saying that she thought it was very thorough.
good. I'll try.
You'd like the same things.
The donation has to be done thusly. As I sent you an email, upon receiving yours. The check has to be made out to the Upper Valley Trails Alliance.
Yeah.
And then on the memo line, you put the initial CHVTC,
Cardigan.
Islanders Volunteer Trail Crews, CHVTC,
CHV,
CHVTC.
okay,
Thank you. Cardigan.
all right.
And in that email is also their mailing address.
Yes, I got that.
Very good. So that's how these things work. They are a fiscal sponsor. They are a 501c3 and they have the accounts of several much smaller 501c2 state chartered nonprofits. They handle the money for
So I would
them. Thank you
entertain,
for the donation.
well, we haven't decided what we're gonna give yet, so I'm gonna ask the committee. I would entertain a motion as to what you suggest as a donation to the Upper Valley Trail Alliance.
I thought we had, somewhere along the line, we had talked about $1,000.
Yes, that's right, but I don't know that we ever voted on that amount.
And I know, but you said,
Okay.
what, is there a figure that's been floating around? That's what I understand. And I think that,
Well,
Would
if
be
everybody is agreeable to that, I'll make a motion. We do that.
Well, we haven't heard from Jay or.
Well, I'd make a motion, we can discuss it,
Right,
right?
well, that's why I
Yeah.
made the motion, you discuss it generally after you make the motion.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
I'm fine with that. I think it's a great cause. I think we're seeing, some good stuff happening and I think I'm for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good.
What do you have for a dollar amount? Did I miss it?
$1,000.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was thinking like 1,500, but 1,000. Because you're still working on stuff.
that's still good. That's good.
Well, I think you've finished for this year, according to what you told, or what I understood.
I would figure that the construction season is over
Yeah,
and so is the trail maintenance season. And about April, we'll pick up again.
okay, all right. Now, the question, of course, is we only have we have much less than $1,500 left in our account. Does anybody want to spend over that with the idea that we're going to be in arrears?
Will you pay it out of the account or you're gonna pay it from? I can't remember what the plan was. Were you gonna pay?
Well, I had always hoped that we would be able to pay this from the conservation fund, that is the trust fund. And in that case, we've got plenty of money, but the town seems to always want to interfere and have us spend it through our budget rather than through the conservation fund.
Can't
What-
you transfer it?
Yeah, that's how, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
right, because if it's real work and it's a valid work, you wanna keep track of it in your regular budget. So you just have the fund,
Move.
yeah, you can take the amount you need from your conservation trust fund and transfer it in. I would not suggest you transfer more, like you don't exceed your total budget line. So say you needed like another 100 or 500 bucks from the trust fund to finish out the year, transfer just what you need. So you're not taking extra out, and then you've used your allocation you were given for the year. That's how I would.
So the treasurer then needs to write a check from the conservation fund, because she's the only one that can write that check to the town to put into the conservation, budget.
Yeah, you typically do a motion to expend money from the conservation fund.
Okay.
So you could say, you know, to use up to the budget allocation with remaining funds coming from. And then they could do the math for you and do it.
Can we ask them to transfer it directly into the line item called trail maintenance?
So
It'll
they're
show
gonna
that there'll
do,
be $1,000 and $1,000 spent under that.
so cause it doesn't. That would sound like a great idea, like a checkbook, but the
Yeah.
way fund accounting info works is that the money comes out of one line and it comes in as revenue elsewhere as an offset. So, well, you and I are thinking like, yes, very
Yeah.
much like it comes into your checkbook and goes out. It doesn't quite work like that for accounting purposes, but the net effect is the same.
Yeah,
So they would charge the money out of the trail line, right? So that this year, say we put 1,500 and then next year, we're like, oh, hey, look, 1,500, and that gives you it shows you what you're spending each year.
Mhm.
But so you could say, I don't remember because I'm on a different page. But if there's $1,028 available from your bottom line budget, then you could take the remaining X number of dollars from Crest and reimburse.
How much is left in our budget? Just
16,000.
60, no,
That's
that's in the
us.
budget.
Oh, and the budget
700.
itself is,
$723.
And honestly, it's always just easiest to make the motion to make a donation, the amount, you know, coming in the first instance from the budget and being reimbursed from in the second, and then let them do the math and the accounting. It's not very fun.
the remaining balance, is $723.48. And I sent
And we
you a
want-
copy of all of this.
Yep.
And we wanna spend 1,000.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I would like to say that at this present time, the account for the trail crew is healthy enough that this commission does not need to be in a terrible hurry to do this. As long as your donation, lands with the Upper Valley Trails Alliance before, say, March, that would be great. Anything sooner is fine, but we wouldn't actually get around to tapping it much before March, just so we know. You don't have to hurry that much on our account.
I am intending to resign from the Conservation Commission effective December 31st. And I would like to get that contribution to the Upper Valley Trail Alliance settled before I leave. Just to make sure that they get it.
We would like that also.
Well, I would say just take 5 and figure out how much we're gonna need for the end of the year for Whitney's recording and so forth. And then just take the amount we need from the fund, not to, take as little as we possible.
And they do the same thing for the select board, right? Like they'll reconcile the end of the year and then they come to us with a big, long list of what needs to be transferred and we transfer only what we need. You guys can do the same thing. And then you don't have to try to project or you're like, oh gosh, our meeting went over. It was 2 hours instead of 1, right? Just let them do the math for you and
So is $2,000 agreeable for everybody to transfer out of the Conservation Trust Fund into the town budget for the Conservation Commission?
We only are gonna give 1,000, right?
Yes, but you need money to finish up Whitney's activity and the other thing that we might want.
so what will happen is you'll over expend your line. We have cash reserves, right, elsewhere. So unless we were in a state where we were constantly borrowing, like a tax anticipation note, and then I wouldn't recommend doing this, but you should be able to just run, frugally as you always do through the end of the year. And then they can take care of the accounting transfer. You don't have to say, we want to do 2,000 now. It's not like you're a regular bank account. It's fund accounting is very different than regular accounting.
So can we approve this amount?
I think you can
tonight?
approve the amount tonight and say, to come from, the bottom line, conservation budget with any remaining funds coming from at the end of the
Yeah.
year. And they should be able to do it for you.
That's the way I agree too.
Yeah.
Is
Okay,
there's
so
no
that
sense
motion has
taking more
been
than we
made.
need.
Anybody second it?
What's that?
I'll
Oh,
second it.
you made the motion, right?
No, I thought Kate just made a motion
Oh.
to change.
I was just explaining how it works, but I
put it-
thought.
I could never, I
Yeah,
could
you put it on
never,
the table.
I made the
Yep.
motion.
I could never repeat.
So read the motion is again, it's gonna be $1,000.
Yes.
It's gonna end up in the.
Valley Trail Alliance.
Right. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I will see that that's accomplished before the end of the year.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I thank you very much.
You're very
And I do
welcome.
much appreciate this vote of confidence
Well, we thank
in
you.
your volunteers, because they are very good people, by the way.
Now,
Good.
I have to get something clear because I got very confused and I always like to do things right. And if I think I haven't, I have to know why. So we went to the farmer's market and we sold the volunteer program.
Yes.
We got very few names. We got one email and everybody said they were gonna go to the town hall. We passed out the QR things, or they took pictures. So I didn't really have, that tablet you left on the table. We had the guy on the bog road and his wife give the email. And the others just put their names down.
Yeah, we had a list, right?
We had, yeah, and just names, no email. So I got the impression that I was supposed to get the emails.
Yeah,
and
we should have got
contact-
more information.
Yeah, yeah. it
We
was-
assumed that they were gonna just take the QR code and.
Yes,
and
they
follow
did.
through.
They all took their pictures.
Right.
And so that's what I assumed, that if they were that interested. So we should have followed up more on that because I read your communication back and forth about I didn't have the name. So next time we'll get the name.
Live and learn.
Yeah,
This
Okay.
is a somewhat steep learning curve for all of us as we adapt to this particular institutional procedure.
Yes.
You had 4 that did do your form.
Nice. That's not bad.
We had 4. Can I hear the names? Or is that not allowed?
Yeah, they're public. This is 4 responses. Just I've got a,
I'd be interested if they're on our list.
I'm just looking at the last name because the way this shows up, rather
That's
than
fine.
downloading it right now. There was one last name of Long, Finger, Rennie, and Sharp.
No,
None of those people are names that I have heard as turning out as volunteers.
what
So
was the
that means that they are out there to be contacted.
Okay.
that's good.
what was
And
the
and I
last
will,
two?
I will carry on with that, but I just felt like I
And
hadn't done
downloading
a
you-
good job.
The file, I'm gonna download it and I'm gonna turn it into a PDF so you don't have to look at it in Excel. It'll be okay.
Rennie?
We'll look at it. together.
Excel. I don't have, well,
No.
I'll get.
No, I'm gonna
Okay.
make it easier. I swear.
I think we should have something in the spring for volunteers, have a something, cookies and coffee and
Mhm.
rah, and,
Coffee and donuts.
yeah, stir them up again, cause they were really enthusiastic, the ones we saw,
Good.
so,
Send them our way. That way the town office.
yep, that's what okay.
No problem.
We'll figure some way to get them together.
Okay.
Having
Yeah,
stopped,
Go
having
ahead.
stopped by your booth the day you guys were there, it was very impressive. And it was nice to see you both in action.
You see my little Japanese friend?
Yeah, I like that. I like
We had
that.
fun. Yeah,
Wasn't
fun.
she delightful?
We had fun.
Yeah, she was lovely.
You well represented the cause.
Well, we hope so. We tried hard.
It started slow, but then we had
Yeah,
a good
then it
little
got-
people that came through. It was good.
Yeah, cause he would say, hey, would you like to step in here? We did, would you like to see? And he had all his pretty maps up and,
Yeah.
The maps drew attention.
yes,
Oh,
they
yeah.
did.
They do
Yes, they
attention.
did.
People like to look at maps. I love maps.
I did.
Yeah.
You're interested.
Anybody want to see a picture of them in action? I think I took a couple.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
us?
of you guys.
Oh, yeah, I saw one. I saw.
Oh,
we
I
had
think
one.
I saw one. It was awful.
Yeah.
No,
Jay,
I said,
Jay,
Yes?
it sounded like you had a lot of interest in the wildlife corridors.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That map there drew a lot of attention. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a subject that I think people, once they hear just a little bit about it, are totally fascinated by what that all means. Because I went to a lecture on that and it opened my eyes to how important wildlife corridors are. So do you think there's some way we could attract a speaker, a really qualified speaker to come and talk to townspeople and?
Not a bad idea. Another thing, Carol, I'm gonna be like, at the end, after Thursday after Thanksgiving, I'm gonna start doing, the Speaking for Wildlife education programs at the village school. So I have 4 planned. And I have more of these, programs that I got from this class I took at the UNH Extension, and it's all Speaking for Wildlife. And I'll be able to, my plan is after I do the schools, I'm gonna present them at the senior center in Lebanon where I
I
work.
love it.
So I'm gonna do them for the seniors there, and there's no reason why we couldn't do some of those in town here too, you know?
Yeah.
Why not? They're
No.
pretty good. The PowerPoints are really good, I think. And there's like 5 different subjects, and they're all wildlife related. So we could promote something there, but yeah, the speaker's a good idea too. I think
That'd be
we
good
might be
do
able to
it
get something from someone from the UNH Extension to come
Yeah,
too.
There is,
Yeah.
somebody was telling me about a program that they use down at UNH, and I wrote it on a receipt, and of course I don't have it. But it begins with covet. Have you heard of that?
Culverts,
Yes. Is that good?
No, I'm not
They,
familiar.
in this case, yes.
they told me that, because I was talking, I heard this, I saw this presentation on PBS about bats, and it was somebody from their wild fishing game, and I thought, oh my God, how fascinating. So then, I was telling someone, and they said, oh, the speakers are free, they all come from UNH, they're wonderful. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I think that we can get people from UNH to come and
Yeah.
speak. The people that did the class that I went to are very nice and very knowledgeable, and they may be willing to too. There was 2 people that did the class. And there was that one lady, remember years ago, Jerry, when we brought that one lady in, that was the wildlife.
Talking about coyotes.
Yeah, and what she talked about, she had an extensive program, it was all UNH related, and we never really dove into it. It was it was all about promoting. That's some of the handouts I put with the maps on the town hall, all those handouts. And that's again, Speaking for Wildlife too.
But that's part of their job, is
Right.
outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful idea, yeah.
So anyway, as I get better doing these programs, we can talk about it more over time, okay?
Mhm.
So the kids are gonna be my first try, and then the senior center is gonna be my second. And then we'll go from there. I should be more comfortable doing it.
That's
We-
great that you
you know-
started this, Jay.
That night, we had a shaker, and everybody had, I thought that was a really good presentation, everybody, it was the first time we'd done anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to get out and talk to people and educate people. I mean, that's my reason for being here, to be honest with you. I wanna get better. Yeah,
It is, that's our job.
yeah. I mean, that's what I feel comfortable doing, that's my role, and that's kind of what I want to do, just get out and talk to people. I mean, I'm not super comfortable in some of the other aspects of it, but that's where I feel comfortable. As long as I feel like I can contribute that way, I'm here.
Well, the museum welcomes
Yeah.
community presentations
Yep.
like that.
Mr. Chairman, I came here to report on trails and to thank the commission for their generous and kind donation and any other business the commission may have on trails. So if there is no more, I would ask, members of the commission, if they have questions, I might be able to answer. And hearing none, I would, as it were, like to be excused. I'm here because of reporting, not because
Want to hang out with us the whole time?
that's the idea.
That's okay, I feel you.
Just to be fair.
Yeah,
You just
absolutely.
came to give a report, and when your report is done, you're free to go.
Yep.
But I just wanted to make sure that April is when you expect to start again.
Oh, yes, indeed.
All right, so the commission then will need to be aware of that when
Mhm.
it comes around April, and you'll come here and let them know what you're planning to do.
I will come here with some kind of a report on what we have
She said
done
send that
and what
to
we
my granddaughter.
possibly are able. Yeah,
How old is your?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a good Thanksgiving.
I intend to.
Take care.
Thank you, Craig.
Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and don't do anything I would do.
And what, can you say that Gothic good night?
I don't speak Gothic. I
This
have a
Scot-
few
what is
words in
Scottish?
Gaelic.
Okay, Gallic, could you?
Sanjava.
Okay, thank you. What the heck is gone? What was, yes, yes, I,
That's old,
yeah,
Gaelic,
yeah, my mother used to, could do that.
Scottish, she's Scottish.
Scottish.
You don't wanna tell him he's Irish, they get
No,
very
that's
upset.
not good.
No,
Oh,
he's
he's
Scottish,
Scottish,
right?
sorry.
That, saw an article, I mean,
Yeah,
a
well,
documentary on the Isle of Man. Oh my God, that sounds such a wonderful place.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
No, wait, just 1 minute. Do we need to touch on the Bicknell Brook situation before we leave?
Oh, that's right. Sure. Give us your report.
My report, I don't have a report, but basically what it is we've been discussing the obstruction on Bicknell Brook. And the owner of the obstruction is going to move it. It's a bridge, I believe, that had floated downstream. So he's going to remove that, but in the interim, this is what happens. One problem leads into another. But he has said that the trail kind of abuts his property. And there's been vandalism because there is a trail that goes off of the town trail and it's his private property. So what the town manager has recommended is that we put up a sign indicating that this is not the town trail, but to continue on the trail that you're on and not take this diversion because this belongs to the property owner. So, before I can continue, I'm more than willing to do the legwork to, talk to the owner of the property and everything, but I just need to bring it up in front of the commission and make sure everyone is okay with requesting a sign to divert the public from his property back to or continuing on to the town trail.
I think like they're for $8 on Amazon or so, you can get a notice private trail, no trespassing. Be
Right.
like pretty quick and easy solution. We do our be a good neighbor, like, I know we don't have to do it, but it would be a good way to be a good neighbor and then they could post whatever they want to post. But you know how it is when you get off on a side trail and you realize partway down it, you're not
Yeah.
going. somewhere you
Yeah,
want.
I mean, most of it is unintentional, but I don't feel like I can just go out and do this without everyone knowing what I'm doing. And the other thing is you bring up a point, is that if we're going to be instituting town trails and recreational areas, we have to be very conscious of the problems that these trails and areas create and have solutions for these problems in a community sense, so working with the owner, not, just telling him, well, deal with it.
Yeah,
So do I hear a motion to allow Carolyn to proceed with this particular problem?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
been moved and
Okay,
seconded.
thank you.
To let Carolyn Wyman proceed with this particular project. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ball's in your court, Carolyn.
Thank you.
now, gosh.
And be sure to keep a receipt for anything you have to pay so that you can be reimbursed.
Okay, I will do that.
And the stake and whatever else it takes to put it in place.
Okay. Does that include my side trip to Hawaii?
No.
Okay, see y'all next month.
See ya.
Well, actually, no, we'll see you on the 14th.
Oh, that's
14th, that's
right.
right.
Oh,
November
yeah,
14th.
you're good. You're good. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
all in favor?
Bye.
Adjourn.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone want more candy? Cause there's more where this came from, so I want. you
Plenty of
to
that
bring
stuff
it.
on my own.
I still got M&Ms.
I don't have any candy.
You like M&M's?
M&M.
Oh, okay.
Uh,